Hi everyone, nice to see you again. I hope your summer's been going well. I understand that it's very hot in Anbar right now, so I hope you've all been coping with that. Um, this will be the third module. You've mostly completed the first two, and so there's this one and then the following one, which I'll be posting also later today from Brad Heckman and Katerina Sira, who will be with you in just a few days in Baghdad. So for today, I wanted to speak about the concept of peace writ large and peace writ little. I posted an article from the Collaborative for Development Action that is really responsible for developing this concept. And the idea of it grew out of some of the work we talked about earlier by Mary Anderson and her team when they were looking at doing sort of connectors and dividers analysis and really trying to understand the interplay between conflict dynamics and contributors to peacefulness at both the community level and at broader national levels. So essentially what we're talking about when we distinguish between peace writ large, which means peace that maybe encompasses a whole society or a whole country, and peace writ little, which is the observation of peacefulness at a small community level. It could be a town or a village or small area, and really trying to understand that these are two different phenomena, and that simply by working on one does not necessarily lead to the other. So you can probably think about examples of this. And actually, it's one of the great conundrums in peace building. Many times, small organizations, community based organizations, or even individuals will undertake peace building work in communities, education projects, maybe small community infrastructure projects that will help the community and create a feeling of peacefulness at the community level. And this can happen in many different communities, yet still at the national level, many people, many observers would say that they do not feel that their country or their area is living in peace. Um, Similarly, sometimes people will say that their country is at peace, and that's a negative peace, like we talked about back in April, because there's no war, there's no open violent conflict, and yet at the community level, because there are some tense dynamics, maybe between different groups or between individuals, or there may be vast inequalities. People will say that they don't feel that day to day they're experiencing high levels of peacefulness. So, this is an important concept because, very much like positive and negative peace, it starts to give us a guide for how we might approach peace building and think about it. I think for many people who've done community level work, it's been very frustrating because they feel that they know how to help people and communities at these lower levels, but they're judged by a standard that is somewhat unreasonable. So if they undertake, for example, an education program to help people at the community level really take stock of the situation that they're living in and really understand the dynamics of maybe conflicts that exist and are able to really think critically and really look at each other's groups from the perspective of being, where that group stands and what that group's experience has been. That can be a major achievement and really can improve relationships between groups at the community level. And yet, there may still be levels of violence, whether it's direct or structural or cultural violence happening at the national level. So, the and those broader issues are maybe dealt with in different ways. Community level education projects or small development projects may not be enough, and usually are not enough to really address conflict dynamics at a national level. So I think this actually helps us in thinking about where to go in terms of peace building in the future. Are we focusing on local levels? Are we focusing on national levels? And if in fact we're focusing on one or the other, well then how does the local level affect the national level? How does the national level then affect the local level? We know very well that because a peace treaty is signed, or because a national government, a parliament, for example, you know, declares that it is not involved in violent conflict, or takes steps to move towards a peaceful resolution of what was a violent conflict, doesn't at all mean that people are going to experience peacefulness at a local level. I've mentioned to some of you that I'm doing work in Colombia now, and we see this very much. The national government and the FARC, the former largest opposition group to the government that was involved in a 50-year very violent civil war, those two groups have signed a peace agreement now. Yet all over the country, people are saying that they're not necessarily experiencing peace in their communities. So I want to leave you with this thought about how do we approach this? In terms of, especially in terms of educators, should we be training people to work both at the local level and the national level? And if so, how can they work together? Because one of the key pieces of learning of the last 20 years, 25 years, is that working at the national level and the local level are both important, but those efforts need to be integrated and coordinated in some way. So if people are running local programs, how can they be scaled up so that they can have a national level effect? And if national level programs are being run, governance programs and the like, how can they be tailored so that they can have the maximum effect in local communities, so that peace is not simply a sort of a government catchphrase, but is in fact something that people are experiencing in their day-to-day lives. I'm posting a question, actually two questions for you on the discussion board now related to this. So please take a read through the article that I've posted, give some thought to this, and respond to those questions when you have a moment. And I'm going to look forward to reading your responses. I hope everyone's having a good day, and I look forward to being in touch very soon. Take care.